What's up, guys? Tommy Bowyer here from Move Rewind, and welcome to another discussion video. I'm joined by Matthew today,
Hello.
and today we'll be talking about our favourite film scores. So, without further ado, let's get into this.
Good job.
So, what is up, guys? As I previously said, and today I am joined by Matthew, and we are going to be talking about our favourite film scores. Now, film scores. I don't know about you, Matthew, but I think a film score really does make the film
Yes.
sometimes. Um, Honestly, film scores are something which you can listen to while watching the film. You can listen to them just on their own. They're really quite commercially successful for studios because they can release CDs with them on. So it's quite a good thing for a studio to get a good film. However, in recent years, I've noticed some people have said that film scores don't really matter as much as they used to because people don't really care about film scores. It's more about the film. I personally think this is rubbish because obviously film scores are still very important to a film. Even let's think of some films released last year, like Avengers Endgame, for example, or Joker. It's probably even a better example. Film scores really help set the tone and style of a film. It gets you invested in that film. What are your thoughts on film scores? 'Cause obviously,
Well,
you've seen quite a few
it
films.
can certainly a film score can add a lot to a movie. Um, why it won't help make a bad movie good, it certainly will help a good movie great. Film scores are very memorable. Um, yeah, they if you go out the cinema with like songs stuck in your head, most likely you're gonna remember the movie and go out and enjoy it.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Obviously, film scores can't make bad movies great because even if I've a couple of film scores from pretty average films which are really strong, however, that doesn't change my perception of the film. The film's still average. The film score's good, but the film is average. And I think sometimes a lot of people would kind of rank film scores differently to what
Yeah.
they would have filmed. So if a film score is great, even if the movie is average, they'll still say, "Oh, out of all the film scores I've heard, that was one of the best," even if the film's pretty poor.
Yeah, I mean,
So
just think of cinema like, for example, if the Star Wars theme song wasn't what it was when the opening call comes on, or let's say the scene in Avengers Endgame, when all the Avengers are together and the Avengers music playing, that sort of moment with the music really made it
yeah,
memorable.
yeah, and some film scores, of course, especially for franchises such as James Bond, film scores can become quite iconic. I mean, the James
Yeah,
Bond theme has been like the sound of that franchise for over 50 years. And then much like Star Wars, as you said, the main Star Wars theme doesn't really change an awful lot because it's iconic. It's not going to
yeah,
change because people can identify the film. Even if you're not a fan of the Star Wars film, you recognize it from the score almost immediately. And I have to say that some musicians and composers have become famous for
yeah.
producing quite a few very
So
memorable scores. I mean, just think, well, like
John Williams,
yeah, John Williams,
he's
Danny
produced so
Elfman.
much: Star Wars, Jaws, Indiana Jones, Harry Potter. The list that he's done goes on. E.T.
Yeah, I would say John Williams is kind of the at the top
Yeah,
of the scores, for just for how many iconic ones he's done. He's where every composer's trying to be,
yeah.
but not quite getting there yet. He's been
Then you
unbeatable
have
at the moment.
in more okay, John Williams is still making music, even though he's still quite old. In terms of more modern cinema, so the past 20 years, you had even past 2025, it's the likes of Hans Zimmer rising up. Like his
Yeah,
first to
yeah,
do he does the scores for a lot of major big films. Like we saw him rise probably to fame when he did the score to the Lion King back in the 90s.
Yeah, and then of course he's done the Dark Knight. He's done the Dark
Yeah.
Knight films as well. He's
Well,
done the
so many
scores for
parts of the
them.
Caribbean.
Yeah, Hans Zimmer's kind of becoming a smaller version of John Williams in a way.
Mm.
Whether he'll actually surpass John Williams is well, we don't know yet because
Yeah.
obviously Hans Zimmer is a lot younger
Mm.
than John Williams. He's still got a long way to go yet. Yeah, but I understand what you mean. There are a lot of composers doing loads of film scores all over the place, and obviously the big names sometimes people will be more up to hearing a film score if it's got a big name involved. So I think quite a few people, when Hans Zimmer is attached to a film, will just listen to the score anyway online just to kind of make out what Hans Zimmer's
I mean,
done
we
with
even
the
saw
score
this
for that
recently with
film.
the new James Bond, because Hans
Yeah.
Zimmer's doing the score for the new James Bond film as well.
Oh, that'll be interesting to see. I can honestly say I
And that's
didn't know
also how
that.
they
So that would
marketed,
be...
Billie Eilish's new song for for the Bond film, because that was recorded with Hans and composed with Hans Zimmer as well.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's made me want to go
Did
and
you
see
not
it more.
also watch
Hans
the live performance at the Brits? Did you not see Hans
was
Zimmer
it
was
good?
there?
No, I didn't. I didn't
Did you not?
see him.
Oh,
I didn't see
yeah,
him.
he was there.
No, that's made me want to see it more now that I know Hans Zimmer's doing this score. But that's what a lot of people will do when they know that a famous composer is doing the score. A lot of people will want to see the film just to hear the music. And obviously, you know, we have a lot of similar views when it comes to film. And we thought today with you lot we would discuss some of our favourite scores
We're going to
throughout
do our top
throughout
three.
our lives. Yeah, well,
Yes.
three scores. Yeah,
So
if you can think of...
yeah, we got three. So the rules of this was that you're not allowed multiple entries from the same composer. So
No.
you can't have just No and Tommy. You'll just have Hans Zimmer, Hans Zimmer, Hans Zimmer,
Yeah, just
or
Hans Zimmer all
John
the way.
Williams three times, which that could easily be done.
Yeah,
And also try not to do the same film franchise. So
no.
don't say like the score of Iron Man 2, then 3, even though
Yeah,
different composers.
and we've tried to kind of keep our scores hidden from one another. We haven't done.
Yeah.
We did
Though,
make that a
though the
rule.
rules do
We haven't
exclude
really tried.
like film franchises where the score was like a continuation
Yeah,
and continuity.
yeah. So like the MCU, for example, sometimes similar themes are used in similar films.
Yeah.
Just keep that in mind. But we are trying to, as Matthew said, not use the same composers, not use the same franchise, and we're hopefully trying to get three each. Maybe
No, we
sometimes we've got the
got
same,
we're doing three
but
each.
who knows? Yeah, who knows? Anyway, would you like to go first, or would you like me to go
So
first?
with ranking film franchises and music, we're not strictly looking at what you think is the best critically, or in terms of the best of movies. We're talking about the best in terms of our favourites, what's had the biggest
Yeah.
impact on us, what we enjoy listening to. And occasionally I do find myself listening to film scores just as they on their own.
Could I just say before? I think you're very right there. Film scores are very. I think music, even more than film, is very biased. Well, not biased in a bad way, but you obviously have your favorites. It's never going to be best composed score. It's always going to be your personal favorite. So, and that's fine having favorites. I mean, obviously, as long as you can say why you enjoyed it, that's the main thing. But anyway, I'll shut up and let
So,
Matthew talk about
third
one of
one
his.
I'm going to pick is controversial choice. Well, okay, the music. Okay, I say controversial choice. It's the only time the film franchise has got nominated for an Oscar, and that's Transformers.
Not surprised. Not surprised.
That's the only category it's won awards in. Is the score. Uh, the score for Transformers films all throughout till the fifth one, composed by Steve Jablonsky. He was actually, fun fact, he was actually mentored by Hans Zimmer himself. But for this one, I'm going to be focusing on the first film's soundtrack. So I just think it's an amazing soundtrack. Like it leaves an impression on you, especially when I was young in the cinema watching that. and the score for Arrival to Earth, where the Transformers are coming to Earth. That I have to admit, that orchestral piece is it's just a masterpiece. There's no denying that, and like the cultural impact it had on cinema as well was big. And in terms of film schools, it was just a fantastic score. It had emotion in it. It had parts where it was quite awesome just to listen to. But yeah, in general, I just thought it's left a big lasting impact. It's just stuck in my head. That rhythm, it's just so catchy to me, and it's just stuck in my head forever. And well, yeah, I've learned how to play it on piano and stuff. It's just had, in terms of like my orchestral listening, it's had a big impact. So that's probably why I'm putting it on my list.
Yeah, I'd say for me, as someone who doesn't enjoy the Transformers films as much as Matthew, I can't disagree with him on the score. The scores, they put a lot of time and effort into that, and it's very well produced. So yeah, I can't argue with that choice. It's a good choice, I have to say. Good choice.
So what would be your number 3?
Number 3, well, it was very difficult doing my ranking. I have to say, my rankings kept swapping places constantly as I was making. However, at number 3, and it's an older film, but still one I watch with joy, and that is the John Williams theme for Indiana Jones. Now, this is more about the type of film and why the score just fits it so perfect. The Indiana Jones theme has an excitement to it which gets you energized and wanting to just like, it gets you pumped up, ready.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what the Indiana Jones films did, because the films are pretty much non-stop. Stuff's always happening, there's always action going on, and the score fits that perfect. John Williams did an amazing job with the Indiana Jones score, and I honestly, because John Williams has obviously done other scores, the Indiana Jones one can get overlooked sometimes compared to, like, obviously some of John Williams' more famous work, like Star Wars, for example. I just think that his work on Indiana Jones really just fits the film perfectly. I couldn't see any other theme fitting those films as perfectly as his does. So he's an amazing man. He did an amazing score, which just captures the film. And honestly, I can't see anyone else doing that theme different.
Yeah, no, yeah, can't disagree with that. It's a great theme song. It's a great score. Very memorable, iconic. Well, like most of John Williams' work, it's very iconic.
Yeah. So anyway,
number 2.
Your number 2 pick.
Now, my number 2 is going to Hans Zimmer. Now, you probably already know which one I'm going for. And don't get me wrong, Hans Zimmer's done loads of great themes, like even for his like not like big franchise films, so like, but the ones with Christopher Nolan, especially like Interstellar, Inception, like like Hans Zimmer, iconic for that Inception sound. You can't. There's that as well, but it's going to go to the Dark Knight franchise for my number 2 spot.
I can see why.
I don't know how to describe it, but it's just a great score that's very fitting, which also pioneered and set a big trend for film scores to come in the future as well. Or you've even seen other composers try to imitate what work Hans Zimmer did, especially in The Dark Knight. That just epic score, and it's just a whole range of it. So it's just that epic, the iconic, like the strings with the the big thudding drums.
Yeah, there's just so many
like,
iconic,
you can't just,
moments.
It sends chills down your spine. You just can't. I don't know how to describe it. It's just awesome.
I think the one I remember the most, like the big, dun 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 dun, is like, oh yeah, Batman.
Yeah.
It just works so well. You can't argue with that score, and as you said, that's probably one that comic book films are really trying to and beat, because it was just so well done, and Hans Zimmer did an amazing job. it it leaves you just it is Batman's score. You know, I know he's had a load of films and quite a lot of different. To me, that will always be
The definitive.
Batman's definitive score. It just works. You know, it just works. So anyway, I
Anyway,
think it's
what would you pick for your number two?
well. This one was a pretty strange one because I was trying to think of film scores which have really left an impression on me, and I cannot pronounce this name. I think her name is Hilda Gondortier, and she composed the score for the Joker film.
Okay.
Now, if because I rewatched this after I got it on Blu-ray in February, if there was ever a score which left me feeling like mentally distant, it was the score for that film. The score is so eerie and chilling that it just leaves an impression that I've never had score leave on me before. It honestly, you don't even, I can't even say it was like an amazing score. It got me pumped ready for the film because it didn't get me pumped ready. It just left an
Mm.
impression on me of I don't. It let these are positives. They sound like negatives. It made me feel dread
Yeah.
and gloom,
Oh yeah.
which perfectly captures the film because that's what the film is, just like gloom and just misery.
Uneasy.
And the score just captures it. It's quite low key compared to other scores. It's not big like the Dark Knight
Yeah.
score. It's quite subtle and quiet. And
Effective though.
I'd say it's just so effective, just so effective in leaving an impression. And after I saw this film the second time, no, the third time, tell a lie, the third time, it was the score which made me sit there and it's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And it took me like a day just to get over the score's effect on me. I mean, I don't know about you, but I just think that
Yeah,
beautiful
I'd
score.
agree with that. Like, especially the score. Like the bit I remember the most when you see Arthur take a turn for worst, and you see him like it's a point where like you're still rooting that he's still going to be a good guy. Then you see him turn and
Mm,
go mentally, and that I don't know how to describe it. That it's like uh, that it was like they brought in like a brass section, and it was like
yeah,
really, and you're like, ooh,
it just leaves you kind of sitting there after the film, just like, oh my god, which is exactly what the film wants you to
yeah,
do. It wants you to sit there and go like, and the score is a critical component because
mm,
if they didn't have that score,
it
I don't
it
think it
did
would
it.
have such an
It did
impression
what it
as
was
it
meant to.
did. No, so yeah, that's why it's my number two pick. Just leaves an impression. Just leaves a great impression.
Right, so number one pick. I'd I've had to think about this. Of course, I've got to do a few honourable shouts. Of course, to such as the Avengers theme. That's very that's just awesome. Um, even I have to also do an honourable shout out to the Sam Raimi Spider-Man film scores, which they're awesome as well. I don't know. I could do the list. I could do a list forever. But my number one spot I'm going to go with is John Williams and Star Wars.
Oh, I knew it.
Due to the
I knew
fact,
you.
well, one, it's iconic. Like the Star Wars theme itself is iconic, but and has shaped cinema history as well in terms of film scores. This is the original thing that probably shaped cinematic blockbuster film scores. Um, I mean, like, could you imagine a world where you didn't have the Imperial March? And also, like, even John Williams' scores like captures like that epic space opera type feel, and I don't know, you can do so many emotions in it. It's got that sense of like hope and happiness, like, but also you can take a turn for like deep dark emotions as well, and like proper scary, like the Emperor's theme. That stuff is actually it's proper scary when you listen. But then you can flip it. So when you're in space and the heroes are winning, it's just like I don't know the theme, the emotions that that film score conveys and how iconic that film score and the impact on cinema history that it's had is something that you just can't deny.
Yeah, yeah, I get you. I think everyone knows the Star Wars theme, or if you hear it, you get energized by it
Mm.
because it's just such an iconic theme. I can see why you put it at your number one because, of course, as you said, it's probably one of the most iconic cinema scores out there
Mm.
because everyone knows it. And I agree. I mean, the opening scroll in the Star Wars films wouldn't have an impact without that score. I think it's that score which gets you like and waiting. I mean, I think you said when you went to see Star Wars Episode 7,
Yeah.
and I think you said just seeing the music with this, it just
Yeah.
was like it just you enjoy the film automatically,
Then
just
they
like in the
then they
first second.
later butchered the canon later on, but we'll gloss over that. Not John
Maybe
Williams'
for
fault.
another, maybe for another video.
All George Lucas's fault, even though Phantom Menace was a stinker. But there we are.
Yeah, there we are. So anyway, I
Your
think
number
I've got
one
to do
spot, I
my
think I already know, but
thank you. Well, there was many themes I thought about putting in number one. Honorable mentions I have. Well, all of John Williams' work is an honorable mention because the man's just had so many iconic themes. Another honorable mention was Hans Zimmer's The Dark Knight because, as Matthew says, it was a great score. However, and this might be because I'm a fan of the character in question, but I've had to pick Danny Elfman's score for the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films. It's iconic, and even though the films have opening titles, which is quite rare in films nowadays,
yeah,
I don't mind because the score is just captures the character so well. It fills you with excitement. You're ready to see that. You're ready to see the film. All of the theme that he uses is iconic. It's actually the only CD I have in my. So when I'm driving home from work, I can have that on full blast as I'm driving down the road. What Danny Elfman did with this score is that he said it captures the wonder of Spider-Man web swinging around New York City. It just captures it so well. You can't see any other score being put in place for that. And all of the villains in these films have their own score, which I think is very well done because you automatically know what villain when the villain's appearing because the score is just so memorable that you just kind of think, well, the Green Goblin's coming
well,
because that score
maybe not the third one.
identifies him. Well,
I don't remember a
even
theme in Venom.
because of course, yeah, I know, but of
I
course,
remember Sandman though.
Christopher Young took over from Danny Elfman for Spider 3 and did some of the score.
Yeah,
But even the score for the Sandman in that film goes
but
well with
I
that
have to say,
character.
in terms of villains though, Doc Ock's theme.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I preferred the Green Goblin's theme, but that's just because I prefer the Green Goblin as a. But the themes work for the villain. It's much like the main theme. They're some of the only films because sometimes if I watch a film and it's got opening titles, I'll want to fast forward them, especially if it's just credit. With these, it's like nah. I'm going backwards to watch them again.
Yeah.
An amazing score. I don't think anything's going to ever beat it. You can say it's a fanboy or whatever you like. There are obviously better scores than this, but this is just a beautiful score. And as it's the only one I've got on CD, you tell how I enjoy listening to it. If I've actually bought it.
Yeah.
So I think film scores are all about opinion. It is you feel viewer. I mean, as we've talked about in our list, they can either get you energized or they're just iconic or they get you in a sort of emotion for the. And I think film scores work their best when they fit the film, which of course they're scoring for. If you've got a darker film like Joker, you'd expect a more darker film score. If you've got a film like Spider-Man or Star Wars, where it's more enjoyable and like entertainment and it's supposed to be exciting and building up to stuff, then you're going to have a theme which works with.
Yeah.
No one, I would not blame anyone for liking a score which I didn't particularly like, because it is all down to your opinions. You've seen something in that film score which I haven't seen. You know, me and Matthew's lists are surprisingly different. I thought we'd have one which would be the same because we're pretty similar, but we didn't have any of the same really in our top three. And it took me a long time to do that thing. It took me a long time to write that list because I kept changing my. So I think film scores are brilliant. They can make the film 100% better than what it is. And if you have an iconic theme, that will live on for years to come. You know, they'll never replace the Star Wars. They'll never replace the Indiana Jones.
Never.
And if you want a more modern take, I don't think they'll ever replace the Avengers, the original.
No.
Because there's just some themes you can't replace. Because when fans hear that music, they will automatically know what film they're seeing. And I think that's probably the best kind of films, one which sticks with a franchise.
Yeah, that's certainly true. Yeah, I think I've got nothing more I can add on that. Summed up brilliantly.
So I think with all being said, I'm going to say thanks, guys. I really do hope this video. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe in order to achieve great and maybe even improved quality content in the future. And I would just like to say that, of course, we're in self-isolation in the UK in the moment because of the coronavirus. So that means some of the videos we had planned to do this summer, we can't do as of yet. Yeah. So we've decided to do a couple of different videos instead, have a few more discussions. If you enjoy discussions like this, then I hope you'll continue watching them. Of course, me especially, we're trying to get used to this setup of doing discussions.
But I'm sure
not used to others. Yeah, I'm not sure used to others in the video, but I'll get. I'd like to thank Matthew for joining in on this discussion, especially as I didn't pay. So he did it out of the kindness of his heart.
Yeah.
So you got
he promised me chocolate orange, but he still doesn't deliver.
Yeah, I owe him at least 10 chocolate orange, and 6 of them are for the Beef and Bow cooking shows. Let's do that or not. So anyway, guys, we will see you in another discussion. See ya.
Bye.